After completing this lesson, you'll be able to use the browser to inspect the properties of the headphone designed bodies and components, including physical materials and appearances. You'll be able to use the browser and the marking menu to explore and apply physical materials and appearances to the headphone design, and use the browser to identify and isolate the headphone bodies and components by expanding and toggling the visibility of them on or off. In Fusion, it's really easy to assign materials and finishes. We do this by making changes to the physical material and the appearance of the material. I just want to use the headphones as an example to explain how we might edit our materials and experiment with different materials and different appearances before we go to render or before we finalize the design. We can do this in a number of ways. Perhaps the most precise is by using the browser. So, for example, if I right-click on the right-hand ear assembly and select Properties, I can inspect the assembly and see what the materials are made of. Here we can see that the physical materials have been constructed from a various range of materials, and that's because there are a number of parts in this assembly. Now, if I went to the headband in the browser and did the same, right-click, select Properties, we can see that the physical material is aluminium, but this also has an appearance, and the appearance here is an anodized aluminium. And that's the red that we selected earlier. And I'll click OK to close the window. We can also change the physical materials of any of our parts, again by right-clicking on the part name in the browser and, for example, selecting Physical Materials. And Fusion has a library of physical materials here that we can select from, and it also stores favourites. So if I like particular materials, I can add them to my favourites. So we have an aluminium, but we could, if we wanted to, change it to a plastic. If we select ABS plastic and drag it onto the headband, it assigns this material to the part. So I can just close that back up, because since I want this part to be aluminium, I'll just reset it to aluminium here, and then close the physical appearance dialog window. Now you'll note that that didn't update the appearance, so Fusion didn't change the colour or the finish of the material. To do that, we do the same. In the browser, right-click, but this time we select Appearance. And in the Appearance dialog window, we have all the appearances that I'm currently using in this design. So there's the anodized red. I can also change the appearance, and I've got a number of options here. Or I can, for example, change the paint. So I could look at glossy paints, for example. And I could apply this red gloss paint. Or, if I wish, I could apply a green. And if I like, I can even define my own colours. And I can demonstrate that if I go up to the top here to all the appearances that are in the current design. If I double click on any appearance, I can use the colour swatch here to change it to any colour that I like. So I'll demonstrate that by changing it to a blue, then just click Done. Just going to return that back to the anodized red, then close it. Now if I wanted to change the materials and appearances in the ear assembly, I'll need to go to the browser and expand the ear assembly. And as you can see in the browser, there's a series of parts that make up the assembly. Now I can use the light bulbs here to toggle on or off the visibility of all the different parts that make up the ear assembly. And that will allow us to expose other parts hidden. So for example, here's the outer ear assembly. If I right click on it, I can go to Properties, and I can see that's an aluminium with a saturnine finish. So by toggling the light bulbs on or off, I can identify all the different parts, and I can inspect them, or I can change the material qualities in the same way that I did for the headband. And I can use Fusion's navigation tools to orbit around the model, or zoom. So if I zoom into this component part here, which is the bolt fixing, if I right click and select Properties, again, I can see the physical materials and the appearances that have been assigned to it. And I can do this for any of these parts. And if I wanted to change some of these, I can right-click on the canvas to launch the marking menu, and I can select Physical Material or Appearance. And again, I can access all the different appearances in the design, and I can drag over different appearances, or I can create new ones. So I'll just close the window, and I'll zoom to fit so I can see the entire design. Now if I go over to the browser, I'm going to toggle on the visibility for all the different parts in this assembly. And if I don't like something, I'll just use the undo command here, and in this case I'll undo the blue appearance of that bolt fixing and then reassemble the ear assembly again. So we now have our new on-ear modular headphones designed. We've specified our physical materials and appearances, and we've applied slider joints and limited their movement according to the physical properties of the design. And now we're ready to render the design.